Megabyte Doctor Who podcast.
Hello and welcome to the 20 Megabyte Doctor Who podcast, episode 465. I'm Adam and Mr. Popplewick. And here's Debbie Melrose.
Yay!
Oh, I see. He humiliates you by throwing harpoons at me. It makes a lot of sense.
Kirby Bartlett Sloan.
Carriages.
And the delectable Mary Lang.
Great protector of grafters and dissemblers. Save me.
Yes, you are, but what's your quote? And we have on the live feed coming through Laurie Nix. It's alive. And Lillian Robin. Yay, Debbie. Laurie Nix. Debbie has a squeaky kitty. That's what she said.
Yes, I have squeaky kitty.
Have you got a new one then? Have you got a new cat?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Robert Vence Jr. says, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Robert. Lillian Robin says, I am not complaining about you not starting yet. Well, you haven't started yet. And, well, we have now. And Laurie Nick says, Onslow.
Onslow.
Onslow. A bit stunt casting that was, by the way. I'm just going to say that now because I'll probably
Terry
forget
Miles says, hi, everybody.
Who does?
Terry
Miles.
Hello. Why has that not come up? Has that come up on the 20 megabyte version?
It's up on the 20 megabyte watch party.
Woo-wee.
See,
I've got that one. Right, okay, Deb, I'll give you a little job.
What?
You can keep an eye on the comments coming up on the 20 megabyte watch party, and I'll keep an eye on the comments coming through on my actual feed. That's a good plan.
Stackyard.
And Kirby.
Yeah, that's the reason why I was suggesting you put things in the right place, because we were getting there were messages coming through from someone
I know, I
last
did
week
mention them last week. And Kirby, your little job is to keep an eye on the 20 megabyte chat to see when Ian and Robert become available. Mary, you just have to sit there looking pretty.
I'm good at that.
Best job of all.
I wanted equality.
Robert Vence Jr. says, time to get a roast beef sandwich and fries. Sounds nice. And let's get on with The Ultimate Foe, which is episode 13 and 14 of Trial of a Time Lord. Episode 13, written by Robert Holmes, and it's his last contribution to the
and
history.
Eric Sayward.
Well, it was Robert Holmes, essentially. Stop being awkward. To Doctor Who. Okay. So, is he in there yet? No. So we're back in the courtroom. It's a bit more. The courtroom itself is a bit more relevant to this particular story than it is to all the other ones. So we will mention it. And there's a long scene in which what I thought was quite interesting was the warlord, but it wasn't the warlord, was it? Who was it? And then in War Games, that chap who was in War Games, who plays the keeper of the key of the what do you call it? Matrix. The most pointless job.
The key of Rassilon.
The keeper of the key of Rassilon. Is that what it was?
Keeper of the Matrix.
Keeper of the Matrix, but he has the key of Rassilon.
The thickest Time Lord ever, who couldn't work out that you can make copies of keys.
Yeah. Are you talking about the actor James Breen?
Yeah, he was in the War Games. He was the one that kept on saying, Lord.
Yeah, he was the security chief.
Security chief, that's it. He'd been in a quite recent story that we reviewed, hadn't he? Can't remember.
Full Circle.
Full Circle, that's it. Because we talked about it in a similar fashion while Full Circle was on, I seem to remember. Yes, on this story he played the keeper of the Matrix. Again, pretty thick. I love the way he seems to be wearing part of a fish tank round his neck as well while doing while playing the part. Anyway, so he gives his.
I wonder what's going on with that. That's very strange.
Yeah, he gives his evidence that categorically you cannot alter the matrix or get into it. Now, what they never did explain, to be fair, and I'm going to mention this now because I'm bound to forget it later, it was they never really explained how the Valiard actually altered the matrix, the recordings of what we were supposed to be watching.
They glossed over that, didn't they?
Well, it seems like just about everybody can get into the Matrix. So I mean, so if they all can, I suppose he can too.
Yeah, but I know you can get into it and have a fun time in this sort of world that doesn't really exist. That they've quite clearly, that's the thing they've been quite consistent with. It's almost like a dream world, isn't it, the Matrix? But yet it records everything, every memory, every happening in the universe, etc., etc. But again, they didn't explain how we were viewing actual events, and yet when you're in it, it's like a fantasy land. So surely that would lead to what they're showing as evidence at a trial, that to be potentially fantasy land as well, especially if they look into the Doctor's future. Just saying. It's a science fiction fantasy land TV show.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Now, are we really going to find inconsistencies in these last two stories?
I don't know.
I mean, come on.
Right, so so he delivers his evidence, and the Doctor.
The meat of both stories is how inconsistent they are.
The Doctor sort of says, "Well, surely the keys can be copied," and then for some reason, Glitz and Mel turn up in coffins.
Yeah, that was what my daughter said. What are those, coffins?
Yes.
They're very similar to the in that Tom Baker story with the androids. What was it? Something about androids.
No, they're traveling pods.
Yeah. But there was a similar thing they travelled in that android story. Doctor and Sarah Jane travelled in them. Android invasion, was it? No, I just talked to myself for a bit then. What I didn't like was...
I don't remember that.
And I know she was given these lines before I get told off for dissing Bonnie Langford. I'll play the audio. Here we go.
As a matter of total disinterest, who are you?
Oh, Sabalom Glitz. And you?
Melanie, known as Mel.
Known as Mel. Doctor, known as the Doctor. Sorry. No, it's not just that, but it's this
bit.
Are
they all like you here?
No, not that bit. Sorry, the next bit. When he says about finding out with the court thing, this bit here.
Who here?
I don't know. Should we go and find out?
It's like an episode of Blue Peter. Oh, how's this vase made? I don't know. Should we go and find out? Sorry, I'm going to get a bit cross.
Spoilers, she eventually runs off with Glitz.
Yeah, all right. And then, of course...
I guess she likes him.
Yeah, okay. And then, of course, the best bit of the episode, of course, is they're all sort of bickering in the courtroom, and the Master stands up for the Doctor and said, yes, of course, the Doctor's perfectly right that the Matrix has been edited. And I do like the way he sort of sits on high, sort of, and mocks the Time Lords, before him and stuff like that. So you can see the Master's thoroughly enjoying this particular feature of the episode. And the Valeyard, who of course now we find out is the Doctor. And I was thinking about this thing, wasn't it? But somewhere between his 13th and final regeneration, was it? This supposed to be this incarnation?
No, it's between his 12th and last.
And final, yeah. So therefore, it's one of those timeless child explanations where he's just had because he's not the Doctor, he's the Valeyard, so it's another incarnation. Somebody's going to say yes to me in a minute. So it's a bit like the War Doctor, but he's just...
Yeah.
Oh, God. Right, moving on. Or, actually, if you talk about the he said incarnation, not regeneration, didn't he? So maybe it's one of the what they call those? The timeless child incarnations, hundreds of timeless child incarnations that happened before the first Doctor came into it. You're all gone quiet because you know I'm right.
We're just intrigued.
There's no reason to argue with you.
Exactly.
And the reason for that is because I'm right.
We're just hanging on every word, that's all.
Well, I'm just saying, so the explanation is now, because of the timeless child thing, you can fit the Valeyard in any part of the Doctor's timeline. If him being an incarnation of the Doctor. And for me, it did make quite a lot of sense in regards to him being an evil incarnation of the Doctor. In fact, I wrote a Doctor Who story which I sent to Andrew Smith about a good incarnation of the Master by way of balancing things out. So if anybody has that idea, if you see that idea anywhere, I had it first, and somebody nicks it. I did copyright that script, so we'll be sending the lawyers in. Robert Vance Jr. says too many writers in this story. Yeah, 3 of them.
Kirby's trying to get your attention.
Who is? Yes.
The Valyard has been referenced twice in the news series.
Yes.
In the name of the Doctor, the Great Intelligence states that the Valyard is one of the names by which the Doctor will be known before the end of his life. And in Twice Upon a Time, Testimony tells the First Doctor that one of his future titles is the Shadow of the Valyard.
Oh, Kirby,
Master,
you're gonna like this. Actually, quite interesting. I'm thoroughly thrilled for you to find that moment of interestingness.
Brilliant, Kirby. More of that, please.
Yes. Robert Lansdowne says, "I hope my that's what my quote was going to be, the megabyte modem." Oh, that was your fault, Kirby. I hope my megabyte modem is fast enough for this stream. And Alan T. Butcher says, the just did a good Master story on Big Finish, or I think that's supposed to be. I think Alan's Y key didn't work properly on that particular string of.
Why?
That doesn't bode well for his feedback.
No, well, you may be reading it, Debbie. I'm not saying who's reading it, but you may be. I could actually stand her in this one. I'm talking about Mel's, I presume, on that one. Anyway, back to the story. I was just sort of trying to my video feeds just stopped.
Just said hello, so I wonder if you want to try to get him.
Who did?
Robert.
Oh.
Okay. And while my computer's acting, the live feed, I've paused in a very weird looking way. Oh no, my computer's just locked up.
He didn't say hello on the.
No, he said it on Skype.
Oh, okay.
Isn't it funny how you lot carry on, the recording carries on, yet my computer locks up? See, it's amazing what Macs can do, isn't it? They can lock up everything apart from one thing.
It's amazing that your perfect computer has glitches.
Who said it's perfect? It's just better. That's all I said. I do think it's better. Right then. This computer is 6 years old. This computer is 7 years old.
Hello.
Hello.
Robert.
You can hear me? Oh.
Yay.
Yes.
Here
Right.
he is.
My Skype signed me out, and then I couldn't remember my details.
That excuse is copyrighted by Mr. Rhys Parton. Copyright
which
2012.
Volume is that, number 3?
Volume 1, I'm afraid, Robert. So bad luck. So quote, please, Robert.
You are elevating futility to a high art.
Nice.
Okay.
Didn't do the megabyte
Well,
modem one.
that's the line before. There's nothing you can do to prevent the catharsis of spurious morality.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that.
Did anybody use that?
No, we did not.
No,
Sounds
we
like
did not.
Pip and Jane are just pulling garbage out
words,
of dictionaries.
Like they do, yeah.
I'm patiently waiting for my computer to catch up with itself. At this point, I can't do anything. What if I can get this to work down here?
You said your Mac is 7 years old?
No, I was exaggerating. It's 5 years old, this particular one.
Mine is 10
And my
years
other Mac is 9 years
Wow,
old.
Gary.
Mine's 10.
Yeah. Welcome to
Wow.
everybody who's watching the show to the 20 megabyte How Old Is Your Mac competition. I said competition, I meant podcast.
I bought it in 2010.
Wow.
This is filling of the lowest quality. Oh, for God's sake. My pooter's stuck. My mouse is working, isn't it? Hang on, let's see. I'll go on my phone and see if the live 3 feed's still going.
Those
Yes,
jobs
yes.
It is?
Yes.
That's weird, isn't it?
It is.
It's doing everything apart from what I actually want it to do.
You've asked me to keep an eye on it for the chat, so
You're
I
a
am.
good girl.
Yeah.
You're a good girl. Right, so
What are you keeping an eye on?
I'm a bit stuck.
Debbie and others have been saying hi back and forth on the
Yeah,
chat.
that's all we've been doing.
Oh, we're back. But
Oh,
I've got a
too.
message. I have got a message on the live feed screen saying that, I know, it's because Robert sent a message through in the middle of me doing something and it's just locked everything up. So I actually can't see the live feed video now because of all that shenanigans. Right then, so we can... Ian, when will you be... He's probably podcasting, leave him alone.
Yeah, he'll come. He'll let us know when he's ready.
Right then,
Yeah,
Robert.
when he's on.
Robert, I'll just let you know where we are. The reveal
You're
of...
in Isle of Wight?
Shut up. The reveal
No, I'm
of...
not on the Isle of Wight. Sorry.
The reveal of the Doctor Master Valiard, blah, 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 Valiard
Aye.
being the Master, has been done, and Glitz and Mel have joined them in the courtroom. And now I've got a funny spinning disc of naughtiness. Right then, so moving
forward.
forward...
about the Master reveal, though.
What did he reveal?
You know, the BBC actually showed a preview of the next episode, and they had the Master, so you could see that he was going to be in there. So that was...
Okay. Well,
I reckon they should have done that. Spot it.
Anyway, moving forward, of course, the Valiard does a bit of cringing and legs it, basically. Did he nick the key off? He did. He sort of nicked the key off.
Pretty useless guards, though, aren't they? They just stand there doing nothing.
Jumped through an available portal into a very sort of weird, spooky environment, and the Doctor followed him in. And then so did Glitz. While the Master has a further conversation with the Inquisitor.
Brickyard.
Pardon?
Brickyard.
What?
I posted a link on the 20 Megabyte Doctor Who podcast Facebook group, which you can join, where you can actually enter the Matrix. You can visit the Gladstone Pottery Museum virtually. There's a 3D exploration, which is fascinating.
Was it? Right, should we have a vote on that as to whether that's fascinating or not?
Well, it
Hopefully
is.
gone quiet again. Right.
Is the tea on yet?
Yeah,
No, that can only happen
Ian's ready.
when somebody mentions it on the feed.
Ian's
Right then.
ready. Ian's ready.
Ian's ready. Woohoo! Poor bloke getting harassed by you. Right then.
All of us.
It wasn't by me. I didn't do one tiny bit of harassment.
No, you know,
Here
if
he
Ian had been
comes.
on, he would have said the stuff about the Valiard before I did.
So you're so pleased he wasn't on, weren't you? Hello, Ian.
Yes.
Hello.
Right, quote.
Guten Abend.
He can't think of a quote. He's like me.
Oh no, you say quote and then I heard Guten Abend. I'm like, that wasn't in the show.
That's just Robert.
Matrix could have been manipulated.
Yes.
Matrix has gone weird.
It lies.
You're German now. No, I didn't have one prepared, but I'll go with
Just go.
a
That's a funny
megabyte
one.
modem.
Hey, that's the one we wanted.
Yeah.
Well done. Okay, well, I'll tell you where we're up to. With the Doctor and his little sidekicks are now in the Matrix, just about to meet Popplewick. Now, as I said, when you weren't
Not
on it, I
Neo.
was very disappointed that the picture that I posted on the 20 megabyte group page that I took of Geoffrey Hughes, nobody put the sums together and realised it was a reference to Mr. Popplewick,
Well, there's a reason
which is...
for me.
Huh?
I had not watched the story.
Well, it's not. I don't think excuse is very good because I gave you a really good clue. In fact, I put down his name was Geoffrey Hughes. Now, I find it very difficult to believe you didn't know that Mr. Popplewick was played by Geoffrey Hughes.
I knew.
It's been years since I've
It's
watched
been
the
I just thought you were.
story.
I mean, I guess I didn't tie it into the fact that this is what we were doing this weekend, but I just thought it was just like you, like, hey, look, I almost met Geoffrey Hughes. I'm like, that's really cool.
Well, I bumped into him.
And
He
I
was.
hadn't seen these episodes yet, so
Well,
I
before
didn't,
that,
you know,
before that
no
picture was taken, he
connection.
was in front of me in the queue at Sainsbury's once, but I didn't actually speak to him. Right then.
I first met Geoffrey Hughes when my parents used to watch Coronation Street, and
Oh, yeah.
he was Stan's mate.
Yes, Eddie Yates.
Yeah, Eddie Yates. That's where I first met him.
I forgot that he was in Keeping Up Appearances.
He was, yes.
Yeah.
And he
I
was
love
in
him as Onslow. He was
Royal
Yes.
Family. He was in the Royal Family. He was Jim's best mate. In lots of stuff.
And he tried to con somebody out of a watering can in this
Oh,
episode.
yeah, I was reading about that. Oh, yeah, listening about that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay.
Tony Selby says he was always always trying to get a deal and stuff. You see that guy's watering can over there. It's really nice. One of the prop guys has been watering can, and he was over there trying to get it off of him.
Right then. Anyway, back
Sounds
to
like
Doctor.
he was a
Who.
real character. Sorry.
So yes, the Doctor is meeting Mr. Popplewick and Mr. Popplewick. I quite like that scene where he sort of goes from one room to the next. He's still sat in. Well, it's a different version of Mr. Popplewick. That's quite
well
clever.
done.
And
the first episode of these two are really good.
yes,
It's really good.
It is very good. And then
It was.
towards the end of it, he just steps out the door into a wilderness. Well, a beach in Wales, by the looks of things. It does very much look like the
No.
Gower.
Is it Canberra
It's in
Sands or
England.
something?
Oh, it's in England,
Yes,
is it?
Canberra Sands. Canberra Sands.
It looks to me of like the Gower. We went there on a school trip once. And then he gets grabbed by some hands and gets pulled down and said, "This is an illusion."
Spoiled. You know that scene was a bit spoiled. When they show a low shot, you can see that it's not really a solid ground that he's standing on, if you know what I mean. Like it wobbles.
And there's a difference in colour in the sand too.
There is Alan Bay. There is,
covered?
yes. Alan Bay
Right.
do the different coloured sands. Ian.
It's a science fiction fantasy TV program.
I was trying to do an Isle of Wight reference
Adam.
then. Yes.
Adam, Tim Drury's just joined and he said, "Oh, it's the Odd Surreal two-parter, eh?"
Yes.
And I
it
just
is.
wrote back, "Yes,
You know why? You know why he's joined? So we can play this tune. That sounds Ian Jury's mention. Let's try it again. That's better. This is Tim Jury's mention time. And Robert Vance Jr. says, "Hi, Robert."
Hello.
I presume that's aimed at you, Robert.
And that he's not saying hi to himself.
You never know.
Anyway, so the second part
Maybe
of
he's
this,
lonely.
the second part of this two-parter
He's just like, "Hi, Robert. Hi."
features the Doctor sort of sinking down in the quicksand and
Mr.
Glitz
Popplewick could say hi to himself.
Be quiet. Glitz pulling him out by the thingies and then saying he's dead,
Are
etc.
they called spats?
Thingies.
Spats, that's it.
The shoe guards.
Shoe guards, that's it.
Ankle armor.
And we see a very clever scene in which the Doctor rises from the
That
sand.
was freaky. That was very
Yeah, I quite like the way. I know
It was so obviously backwards.
yes, but it was good,
well,
Kirby. I like
The
that.
one they could have done
It
is they
added to
could
the
have done
surreality.
It did. I
The
like
problem
that.
is-
Thank you, Robert.
in his hands when he comes up. There's a slight shift in his hands, but listening back to what Colin said about it is when they had to do that, he had to hook himself onto the platform so it would pull him under. So I think that's the bit where he's trying to pop himself into position.
Ah, there you go.
And
Movement,
also,
the hand movement makes it look kind of odd.
Yeah.
also he had to learn his line how to
say it backwards.
Yeah.
Bad joke.
Yes. Robert Vance
actually
Jr.
had-
said, "I got HP 3 years old." Oh, sorry, I got
Well,
a
how's the
HP
balance
3 years
source?
old. What?
HP sauce.
3-year-old HP sauce. But you
HP
get age
sauce.
now?
That you
HP.
need to get some more.
My power spec, I
H-
believe, is
HP sauce?
2.5 years old. I could look it up.
Sorry, what is the HP reference? I've lost my little road.
You just said HP.
I know, but what's that in reference to?
He's telling us how old his computer is.
Oh, it's a Hewlett
He's talking
Packard.
about the sauce.
Oh God.
Anyway, Doctor Who.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah,
Should I put the tea on?
The other thing,
Pardon,
Time
Kirby.
to put the tea on.
Right. Anyway, so yeah, the Doctor's fine because it's all surreal. And then
Stackyard.
What?
It's very obvious also that the Doctor's not
Taking you
standing.
to no, Mr. Popplewick. Oh, sorry, the junior Mr. Popplewick. It's taken you this long to start calling him Valeyard names. You waited till now?
Brickyard.
Oh, he's been going on about it.
How's
a
the
bit now.
entire run?
So I'm waiting on the answer to this.
Run.
We've had Brickyard, Boneyard.
Knackers
I
Yard.
know, but
Yeah,
but he's
Knackers
waited till the
Anyway.
last episode of the Trial of the Time Lord to pick up
No,
on
I
these.
did it. I believe I did it during the first episode too. And
Oh
then there
God.
were
Anyway,
other
Robert
things
Vance
to
Jr.
come.
says, "Watch the show on VHS, the omnibus edition."
Anyway, what I was trying to say
I had the
was it was obvious that they moved, that the Doctor was not standing in the same place when they cut away from his little pit of water to talking to the Valeyard.
He's in the Matrix. It's obvious the Valeyard wasn't standing in the same place when he kept on popping up here and there.
Show, TV fantasy
Well, yeah,
show,
when you could see all the little matte lines appear around him.
Oh dear, isn't that a shame? They're trying a very fancy bit of special effects.
TV show set in a macro universe.
You're picking inconsistencies in a two-parter full of inconsistencies.
Yeah.
I think what they tried to do with the special effects on this episode was extremely good. So shut your face, considering what we've had in Doctor Who all the years coming up to this story. Anyway,
Exactly.
Colin said that he really enjoyed working on this story.
Yeah, I should imagine he did. It's quite interesting.
And he was kind of taken aback when he was fired.
Yeah, I should imagine he was. We'll talk about that later.
Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, so basically the Doctor gets away from the Valeyard and runs into a house which dematerialises because it's the Master's TARDIS. I did like the house reference. It was a shack more than a house, because obviously one of the Doctor's TARDISes ends up being a house just dumped on Earth somewhere at the end of the last story that we watched in the 13th Doctor.
Plus, the Master uses a house.
Yeah.
Uses a house. Yes.
Robert Vance Jr. says, hi, Ian.
Neil James says, who was the actual ultimate foe, Pip or Jane?
Very good question. Chris Chibnall.
Eric Sayward, I think.
In the making of documentary, it seemed as if Colin and Eric Sayward don't like each other very much. Do you know if that's changed in the 12 years since that was filmed?
No idea.
I think Eric always thought he was a terrible choice for Doctor.
His coat was a terrible choice. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't actually like Eric Sayward, to be honest.
So
Does he go to conventions?
Eric, I don't know.
If there's when we have conventions.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Colin would have come if I'd invited him to FancyCon last year. Anyway, so the Doctor gets rescued by the Master, and then he gets he obviously he's in league with Glitz, so he sort of makes the Doctor go into a catatonic state and marches him into the thing and uses
No,
him
he was at a disco.
Uses him as bait to get the Valeyard out, because he really wants the Valeyard. And then and then he gets brought back into the courtroom and is sentenced to death. Of course, uses Melanie as a tool for gaining his sentencing, and does all this sort of very noble sort of acting, and heads off into the Matrix for his execution. Mel kicks off in this courtroom and knees the keeper in the nuts to grab the key. And
I like that.
The Doctor
Real secure with that key.
I know, yeah.
Hooked like that, yeah.
The Doctor is wheeled away on a cart.
Most action he's probably seen in a while.
The Doctor was wheeled away on a cart.
He's the keeper of the key. I mean, he doesn't get an awful lot of attention on Gallifrey, I'm sure.
No,
being a librarian.
Well, he's got to regenerate. Maybe he'll regenerate into somebody who looks a bit like Colin Firth when he was about 40 or something like that. Anyway, so the Doctor is wheeled away on a cart and just stands in a noble posture while this is happening. Of course, it's all a ruse because Mel ruins the whole thing by coming
really
in.
There either.
It's not real. I know that, Mel.
No, it.
Yes.
It gets dumped on the ground.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they go about trying to find the real Valeyard, and then of course there was the megabyte modem thingamajig, and then they find there's a bomb behind the view screen in the courtroom. A bomb behind the view screen, and then of course the very funny scene in which in some sort of workshop in which suddenly Geoffrey Hughes' face becomes Michael Jason's face to adjust with a load of gooey stuff on it, and the Doctor pulls all the gooey stuff away to reveal.
Well done, actually.
How come he just stood there and allowed that to happen?
Yeah, but the funny thing was,
it takes 5 minutes taking it off.
Yeah, no, it's just funny how even the suit was underneath it, so he pulls the mask away.
It comes off so fast, the old one.
Yeah.
And the wig just falls off, And he pulls the whole front
the
away.
Master used to do that though too. He used
And
to
the
go,
suits
all come off.
I did like that, but it was in the Matrix, so it's acceptable, even though it was a bit silly.
Yes.
I thought it was a good effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real mask, and they also he stood behind Pip and Jane apparently at one point. And they thought he was
the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did he did it. I guess he does voices as well, and he did
Jeffrey Hughes'
voice. Yeah.
Did you all know that? Actually, talking of Jeffrey Hughes, did you know that Jeffrey Hughes played the voice of Paul McCartney in a film called Yellow Submarine?
Yes.
Yes.
I knew you'd know, Debbie. Anyway,
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that.
Film.
I wonder if that's in a particular quiz book on the Beatles.
Yeah, that's available on Amazon and
by someone named Adam Pearson.
It probably is. I can't remember what questions I wrote for that book, but nice attempt to plug.
Must be due for volume 2.
Anyway, the Doctor has done something to the Master's TARDIS, so as soon as he flicks the switch, they all turn black and white and get thrown against the walls. A bit like what happened in the Rani's TARDIS. Do you remember that? In the
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Wasn't that written by the same writers?
Yep.
Yeah.
Strange that, isn't it? And then
the worst writers on Doctor Who.
But probably unimportant.
Yeah, and then suddenly the bomb goes off, but sends lots of weird sort of pixelated graphics around the courtroom.
Yeah, that was weird, that type of effect.
And then it feeds back into where the Doctor and Valiard are, and apparently the Valiard dies, but the Doctor's all right.
There
he runs
goes
into
the
the
Pottery
courtroom,
Museum.
runs into the courtroom, and is forgiven by.
And that was a bit sudden, considering how she was before.
Yeah, because the one before was an illusion. And during the forgiveness, of course, the Doctor is told, and we already know this because it was told in the previous episode, that Perry's gone off with Brian Blessed.
Time is an illusion.
Again, that could be illusion.
Imagine that marriage, though. Oh, my God.
And then off they go, carrot juicing and carrot juicing and carrot juicing, while the Valiard has become the keeper of the Matrix, and he's very pleased with himself.
Yeah, you realize that my quote last week was the same as this week.
No, I didn't realise that, and would I ever realise that, to be fair?
I didn't hear it.
Paid no attention whatsoever.
No.
Carrot juice.
Okay, right. Ultimate Foe. Now, for me, I know you lot can hate the blimmin' thing, but I actually really enjoy it, especially, like Kirby said, episode 1's really good, but episode 2 isn't that much worse. It is a bit sort of silly, but they're in the Matrix, so you expect silliness, and you expect fantasy, and even more fantasy to be fair, and you expect surrealness, and it's very difficult to put surrealness into a program about a sort of shape-shifting time traveller who looks human that isn't human, that travels around in a police box, which is pretty surreal in itself. So I thoroughly enjoyed this sort of, and it's 2 parts, so it's easily digestible, and it was nice to get a final end. The only thing I didn't really enjoy about it was the obviously the Perry and Yukanos thing, and it was a bit of a shame that we got the Valiard sort of obviously escaped, but we never see the Valiard again so far. But all in all, it was right, because it was 2 parts. You know, I think it would have been longer than 2 parts. It would have been terrible, but I don't really mind it. And this, for me, has been a really good series of Doctor Who. Apart from the court scenes, it's been a really good series of Doctor Who, and it really does make me think, why the hell do they get rid of Colin Baker when it was so good?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's all very interesting. So what I'm going to do now is ask Mrs. Melrose what she thought of it.
Yeah, I agree with you on it, really. Two episodes was fine. It licked along quite nicely. It was incredibly silly, I thought, this last 2, compared to some of the previous stories through this. I mean, it's Doctor Who. It's up and down with levels of silly. But I felt it almost changed its tune to gearing more towards the kids again. It felt like it made that twist again from, we've been trying all this gross out makeup and all this stuff, let's just go back to basics with Doctor Who, and let's just chase through silly things and do all sorts of things, and it licked along in a nice way. I really quite enjoyed this last 2-parter, and it was just a good bit of fun. I sat up here in bed watching it on the big screen for a change, because I actually had this on DVD when it arrived yesterday, and it was such a good thing to sit here and watch and just.
Ian's got a Blu-ray.
I bet, but yeah.
I've got a Blu-ray.
I liked. I thought it was the main reason. I think just generating the word silly was mainly the keeper of the Matrix. He really let the side down for Gallifrey, I must say. For someone to be like him to be entrusted with such an important key. First of all, just to have it on a hook hanging off your chest, and then to just not acknowledge the fact that anybody can cut a key was just. That just really didn't swing right for me. So when he got his just desserts from Mel, I thought that was quite funny. And I just like the whole idea. I really wish they had expanded a bit more on the Valeyard, and obviously he as Kirby pointed out earlier, it's been mentioned that he's a future incarnation of the Doctor. We know it's coming, and I'm not sure if Big Finish really addressed that. Much as I'm a fan of Big Finish, I'm still very new to everything they've covered. I have really enjoying Colin Baker as the Doctor. I think he's marvellous. And I remember watching this the first time round and loving him as the Doctor, but then sort of as I've watched more and more different incarnations, different generations of the Doctor, I've really enjoyed him. I think he's been absolutely marvellous, and holding his own in the court scene has been fantastic. But this was the only story that the court scene really seemed relevant. So you could have done pretty much the whole thing without having to worry about court scenes in the other stories. But that was the way it all tied together. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good finale.
Thank you, Debbie. I noticed Ian Kirk has said, I have just had a phone call. They are short-staffed and want me to come in. Copyright Mary Billets Lang. Sorry, I nicked that one off you, Debbie. I just happened to notice it. So.
No, I just saw it as I turned away from the microphone, yeah.
Right then, Robert, what did you think of it?
I quite enjoy it. I think, Debbie hit on something which is quite noticeable about going back to the kiddie sort of way, and I think probably that's Pip and Jane Baker. They probably seem to think that it's geared towards kids, so I quite like the surrealness of it. It was, as you say, with all the stuff on the sands and that. And what else did I? Yeah, that I think the guards were pretty useless in the courtroom. That they let people get out and they let keys get stolen.
Yeah, but Robert, knowing the history and the mortality rate of guards in science fiction programs, I expect they were probably a bit worried they were going to get killed off. But surprise, surprise, they didn't.
And they had they were wearing a lot of red too, funnily enough. But yeah, if you have a look at the guards, they're just standing there and just like they're, oh, how you going, mate? You want a cup of tea? And not doing anything. So then they were right near the door. But I think
they didn't stop anybody running out ever, did they?
No, they just stood there. It's weird. But one thing I didn't
ceremonial
like,
guards. They don't do anything.
Yeah, obviously.
We're here for set dressing.
But I think there was a few silly things like the Doctor leaving with Mel, and she's saying, "Oh, we'll get you back on the exercise bike." And this Doctor is the one that's been through the court all the way along.
Yeah, so he hasn't been on the exercise bike yet.
No.
Yeah.
So that had no logic to it if they'd really thought about things.
Yeah, this Doctor's just left Perry with King Ikanos.
Yeah. And I really don't like that as well. As I think somebody said, they could, maybe even Colin said when watching it, that they could have just said, oh, it's the Matrix lying about her death.
Yeah.
Or just leave her being dead.
Yeah.
We don't need to have a round off,
Yes, kill Perry! Kill Perry!
Yes.
Kill her again.
He's alive.
Believe her being with the king.
Yeah.
But it's enjoyable. And it would have been interesting to see had they gone with Eric Saywood's script, or even if Robert Holmes had actually finished off, mind you, Robert Holmes had finished it off, I think probably he wouldn't have been up in his heyday type stuff. Not being so sick.
There was plenty of hay in the yard, though, wasn't there?
Saywood would have done compared to. I know the
quality
script,
joke gets some. Oh my God! My chair just broke.
I beg your pardon.
The screens.
Hang on, I think the chair's gone.
Oh.
And you're allowed to have a Goon Show reference because you're not American.
I think my chair's gone. Oh
Exactly.
God, that's not fair. I love this chair. Well,
I'm just about to watch it happen on live.
I love watching it on the replay. It's like instant replay.
Oh, Adam, that looked really painful. You're right.
More painful for the chair and for my bank balance. That means I'm going to have to get an uncomfy
Sounded
chair
very,
in here.
very rude, though.
Oh no, not the uncomfy chair.
Yeah,
What, the
get off
white
of that
stuff?
whoopee cushion.
It's broke.
Uh-oh.
Oh my! I just turned it into.
Yeah, you should really go for it then. Poor Adam.
Still, the most exciting time was when he had his cramp.
Oh, going on about the blimmin' cramp.
Yeah.
Robert, have you finished?
Or his crack, because I was here for his crack.
I got the crap.
Robert, have you finished?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say,
Yeah.
Talking about the trial scenes,
Yes.
really they could have just left that for the first episode at the beginning and the last episode at the end, if you think about it. But mind you, then you wouldn't get the charges like, the dramatic thing of, the charge is now up to genocide, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But, yeah, I quite enjoyed it, and it's sad that Colin, just when he's sort of like getting his stride. I mean, I know one of the extras on one of the shows he was visiting, he did say, and that's to a little kid asking him, what would he like to do if he was in the TARDIS, and he would say, go back to his start. And I think maybe he regretted sort of having that cantankerous doctor at the beginning, strangling Perry and all the bickering.
Not really. And Nicola says in one of the extras that she actually thought she doesn't have any problems with that particular scene, that it shows the doctor's change.
Yeah, the regeneration effect. Yeah. I know.
And she didn't have any problem with the choking, apparently.
Yeah, she may not have done, but the fans did.
Right. Yeah, I know. I did.
But I just got the feeling that Colin, because a lot of people got onto it at that time, and the way he was feeling when that little kid said, what would you do? I think he'd like to go back and maybe be the doctor that he was towards the end, at the beginning.
He did that in Big Finish, though, didn't he, Robert?
Yeah. He's been redeemed, so in the eyes of some fans. I didn't think he was too bad on TV anyway, so
No.
it's just some people. Okay.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much. Alan T. Butcher said, the chair broke in sympathy with the broken plot. Now, I know I would normally at this point introduce Mr. Ian Bissett's view of the story, but I know Kirby is absolutely itching to talk about this. I was going to say something impolite there. To talk about this story.
Kirby, you should go see a doctor about that.
The problem is that coming after... Excuse me? What did you say?
You said you can go and see a doctor about that, about a rash.
The biggest problem with coming in after all the other people is that everyone said everything already.
Oh, by then, right then. So we should move on to now.
My turn then, right?
No. This story it's all right.
I should do a capture of Ben saying, right?
Actually, I enjoy it if I turn my brain off.
Oh God.
It's a fun little romp. The first episode is better than the second episode. Try to ignore some of the weirdnesses of Pip and Jane. and I enjoyed the location shooting a lot, both locations. I'd like to visit that museum. Maybe someday I will.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. I always say things about visiting these locations because you guys won't.
No, because they're boring. Carry on.
What do you mean they're boring? To visit a location?
Adam,
Yeah.
I think we should actually go on a Kirby tour of some of these quarries and things for a day, just for a laugh.
What, the ones on the island, you mean?
No, there's over on the mainland. Apparently, things that are like 5 minutes away on the mainland. You know.
Well, that'd be well worth it,
There
wouldn't
are
it?
some things.
Drive all those miles,
Give 'em a virtual
step into
tour.
quarries
Yeah,
and
no.
think, ooh, this is an interesting lump of rock, isn't it? Let's go back home again. Brilliant.
Pretty much.
I'm sure you could join Alan T. Butcher for a few things along the South Coast.
Yeah, pubs maybe, but not blooming
Apparently
Doctor
there's
Who
a-
locations. The only Doctor Who location I'd be quite interested to go and see is the actual studios where they film the interior scenes and stuff.
I'd like to do the Cambridge tour.
You would?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Tim Jury.
Then we'll take
Yeah,
On a
that.
pan?
do that then. I'm sure Tim could be able to. Oh, Tim Jury mention. Hang on. I've got to play,
Yeah, Tim always films that, too.
Yes, contact Tim. Debbie.
It's fascinating. Anyway, overall, yeah, it's okay. I don't have any real problems with the story other than the weirdnesses of Pip and Jane. And overall, I kind of like...
Said overall twice. Is that because they were in some sort of like mechanical areas and they should be wearing overalls, or?
Goodness.
I thought those were called boiler suits.
Oh, okay. I'll give you that one. But they were near a boiler, so maybe that's... I'll carry on anyway.
Anyway, as far as the entire season, this is the first time I've watched them all in order.
Yes.
Wow.
And I like it. I do like the entire Trial of a Time Lord thing, although they should have cut back on some of the trial scenes. I noticed that in this one, all the Time Lords are swapped out again. They're different Time Lords than in the previous stories.
Yes. They're only supposed to be like
I knew
living
you'd
props.
watch
I don't
that.
think that really matters.
No, it doesn't, does it?
No.
But I knew Kirby would watch that
Yeah, so did I.
and notice.
Indeed.
Oh, and also, I noted last night that one of the extras on the DVD, I'm sure it's on the Blu-ray, is the show Open Air that's got Chris Chibnall, very young Chris Chibnall there, and the interviewer says she's never watched the show but tried to watch The Ultimate Foe and was confused.
Yeah, well, you would be though, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you've never watched Doctor Who before,
she also makes
Yeah.
references to it being a children's show and all these people who are part of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society were aren't you a bit long in the tooth for liking this show?
Yeah, and
Well,
then
in our case, it'll be a case for Chris Chibnall. Aren't you a bit long in the tooth for ruining this show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the things that he was saying about Trial of a Time Lord, I could easily put that back and say, well, Chris, I could say the same thing
Yes,
about yours.
exactly.
He's forgotten about his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, in the making of documentary, they talk about Doctor in Distress, and several people, including Colin, say they don't like the tune. I actually kind of enjoy it.
The tune's okay. It's just the lyrics and the singing.
It's a little 80s thing.
Yeah.
Does someone have a list of who all is in it? I mean, I can
I've got the
recognize Colin.
single. I've got the actual single.
I can recognize Colin. I can
Yeah, I've got it
recognize.
I think I've heard this, but good lord. For somebody who didn't have much to say about it, Kirby.
Well, you should.
Phyllis Nelson.
You should do my jingle now. Then
No. Have you finished
Yeah,
yet?
Come on.
Are you done?
I'm done.
What?
Ian, before you say anything, I have Robert Vance Jr. says in relation to me talking about why the hell did they stop the show when it was so good, because Michael Grade wasn't a hoe. I'm not going to fill in the gaps on that one, but we can all guess what he was saying. And Alan T. Butcher saying they were the same Time Lords. They all regenerated. Good point, Alan. That's what we want on this show.
They regenerated between stories.
Yeah, they've been listening to...
well, what happened was the guards were outside and they were supposed to stop them from leaning on the broken rails, and they didn't. The guards were just standing there. They just like, whatever. And all these Time Lords went over the edge.
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's why.
I also noticed in this one, the Time Lords, in all the previous ones, they all turned to the screen together and back. And this one, they were kind of relaxing and turning at odd times.
I think they've worked out that it's probably not worth watching. Right then, Ian, rescue me.
Wow, that was ominous. You said Ian, and there was this huge roll of thunder outside the door. Like, wow, that's a hell of an entrance. I love this kind of. It's always been a really confusing story. And I'll blame the Australians again. So not only did we the confusing storyline, but we had the Australians. They cut the episodes, and then we got the Australian episodes, and then if we had to cut any further time off, then. But by the time we got, because I saw this story a lot, but with bits and pieces added and varying video quality and stuff like that. And the one thing I'm looking forward to, and I didn't want to watch it before we did this because I want to see it.
Fresh opinion.
Is the recut version on the Blu-ray.
So you mentioned the Blu-ray again there, Kirby.
Yeah. So that's going to be really kind of interesting to see how it all just plays through. But it is a great story because it does a lot of kind of the things I like about Doctor Who. Every now and then the Doctor should go back to Gallifrey and show them that he's still awesome. And
it wasn't on Gallifrey though.
Gallifrey for a long time.
No, it's on the spipeship, isn't it?
But
he was on the space station, yeah.
Pedant much?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but the seventh door to the Matrix was on that ship. It's basically
weird,
Gallifrey.
Yeah,
what?
That's weird.
You can't have a hyperlink door to a macro universe. Dude, it's powered by a megabyte modem. So, hush. I enjoyed that.
6 more episodes of Star Trek, and Fred will actually hear this music in context.
Oh, you've started watching Star Trek? I didn't know you liked Star Trek. Anyway, back to my review. Since I gallantly let Kirby go before me. Anyway, I didn't interrupt and stuff. But yes, so I'll be looking forward to rewatching it because it is. It's all of the stories in this season could have been phenomenal, I think, but that's not the fault of Colin or Nicola or any of the actors on the screen. They all everybody did a fantastic job, even the extras. Well, most of the extras. There was a couple of that Honor Black person. Black man? Yeah. Yeah. She was a bit pants, to be honest. No, I honestly thought she was a bit let down. Anyway, that was last week's. But no, it's one of those things that because of the time that this was made, we didn't kind of get the full story that we should have got. We got this thing, which is kind of cobbled together and saved, and so it becomes this. And all it is, it's like what did Tim say? It's this surreal episode. It is the whole Trial of the Time Lord becomes surreal because of everything that was going on. We've got a sick writer who's, from what I've seen in Doctor Who fandom, heralded as somewhat of a god. So his name's on this project as well. Yes. And then Pip and Jane Baker, who, no fault to them, stepped in at the last second and were given no information and had to put the stuff together. And
in 3 days.
Off to them.
Isn't bad, actually.
For 3 days. That's why it jolts a bit. But the sheer fact that they were able to put that together in that short space of time, is says a lot. There were a lot of people who were working on the show and cared about it. Unfortunately, there were some people who cared about it in the wrong way, and then fighting and BBC politics ruins the rest. But I love Colin Baker. That's why I'm here. That's why I got invited. Thank you, Robert, for inviting me, and or at least inviting
Hopefully you
them
will
to
stick
invite me.
around.
Yeah, I'll be here. Apparently, there's screaming to be had next episode. But it is fantastic. Especially, I'm just going to backtrack to the first episode, Mysterious Planet. That's how I remember the Doctor and Perry walking through that forest.
Yes,
that's that era to me is that little moment. And I did briefly watch a recut of that opening bit where they're walking through the forest, and it's just
on the Blu-ray.
Lovely. Yes, on the Blu-ray. Oh, did you get the Blu-ray, Robert?
Yes, I do have the set, and I enjoyed going through it for this.
Yes, I did too. I watched the behind the sofa and stuff like that, just to jog the memory, because I've watched it so many bloody times. It's not funny. I had the tin, then I had the. Then I bought it out with the cardboard sleeves. And I've had
I've got the tin. I've got the TARDIS tin somewhere. Yeah, they had a different picture on the bottom, didn't they?
I think mine's back in New Zealand.
Videos in it.
Yeah.
I suppose I should look up how much this thing cost on Amazon.
Should you?
Blu-ray, Kirby?
Yeah.
Blu-ray.
I got the DVD for £10.
Oh, that's not bad, is it?
Yeah, I know. It was lucky.
It's a good set.
A lot of those are becoming fairly cheap.
Yes.
Basically, after
the shelf getting bigger.
The good thing is, Kirby, I'm only going to be buying like one or two more of the Blu-rays. I really want Sylvester's first and Colin's first, and then I'm done.
Somebody said that might be last, though, or one of the last ones to come out. And this is someone I sort of know someone who's involved in putting together the things or the.
Do you know, surprise for this show, we've gone off on a tangent.
I brought up Amazon.com.
A tangent?
Talking about the Blu-rays.
It says
Blu-ray, yeah.
We talk about the Blu-rays. That's not a tangent.
On my main page on Amazon, it says continue watching Bugsy Malone.
What?
Now that's a good movie.
There you go.
I haven't seen that for years.
Well, it's because it's got Bonnie in it.
We could have been anything that we wanted to be.
He's going to ignore us. You will go for a wee. How far did you get, Ian, with your review?
I think I'm done.
Oh, you're
I
done.
think I was done. Kirby kept butting in and leading on about the Blu-ray.
That's my job.
Mary.
The Blu-ray's really good.
It's time.
Well, I was actually very entertained by it.
Oh,
I won't say that I liked it or that I'd want to watch it again, but it was just so, as they say, surreal. So I just kind of settled back and tried not to make sense of anything and just let it kind of flow around me.
I won't be settling back. I'll end up on the floor.
Well, we hear that Pip and Jane Baker had to write that last episode. Part of that's because Soward had it totally written, but he quit before they filmed it, and he forbade them to use any of what he wrote. And supposedly his whole script was supposed to be burned up and destroyed, but I guess...
No, it's on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, copies of it have gotten around, so it wasn't...
No, you can get it on the Blu-ray. It's officially on there along with Robert Holmes.
But so they had to start from scratch, but because there was already a cast, already costumes, already sets, everything, they had to look around them and see what they had to work with. And the surprising thing is that they wrote an almost 40-minute episode that had to be cut down, and the word is that a lot of the humor was cut out of that. But it got to the point where they could get it down to 30 minutes, and then the whole continuity would be, if there is such a thing, would be destroyed. So then they got the official word that they could keep it at a total 30-minute episode. The surrealness of it and the settings and all that really took me back to watching the early 12th Doctor era, when he did so many stories in like Victorian and surreal settings. So I was kind of impressed, that, this was carried forward into another Doctor's era. And I have to laugh at this, at him saying, well, there's really no royal jewels to protect. And I'm thinking, no royal jewels? What about, the sash of Rassilon? The sash of Rassilon?
Is that a euphemism for something, Mary? Talking about royal jewels?
Strap.
Yeah, what would you call those?
The strap of Rassilon.
The harp of Rassilon, don't forget the harp.
The harp of Rassilon, yeah. I mean, that's a treasure that they have there to protect. And I was surprised when Mel opens that door and says, it's a, what is it, a modem, the...
Megabyte mode. You should be about the megabyte bit, Mary, modem. To be fair.
Yeah, the megabyte modem, and I'm thinking, how would she even have a clue? But anyway, that's just one more.
She's supposed to be a computer
programmer.
Yeah, well, still, it just was, one more thing of the, okay, nothing makes sense here. I read that right after the viewing of the last episode, it was announced that Colin Baker would no longer be, the Doctor in Doctor Who. So I know that Colin Baker loves to go around at conventions and say, well, I never had a regeneration. So I'm still out there having adventures.
He did sort of, but it was made by fans, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm doing really well.
They did you listen to the Big Finish one that they did, The Last Adventure, Mary?
Yeah, I did.
That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I heard a bit of that, yes.
Excellent. Oh, my God, it was one of the best that they've ever done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And anyone interested, now that we're talking Big Finish, anyone interested in any of the ventures with the Sixth Doctor and Mel, there's only 3 with just the 2 of them. You already mentioned the Wrong Doctors last week. And then there's Catch 1782 that was put out in 2005. And then the last one they put out together is The Warehouse, which was out in 2015. Other than that, Bonnie Langford only did two other big finishes. And that's
Fires of Vulcan, wasn't it? Fires of Vulcan, what else? With Sylvester.
Yeah, with Sylvester, and she did The Life of Crime with him and Ace, and she also is in The Blood Furnace with the Seventh Doctor and Ace.
I'm sure that once she gets kicked off EastEnders, she'll be back doing Big Finish because the actors need work. And Hev Pennant's back, so I've now got to be on my best radio presenter behaviour. So yes.
Are there any audio adventures of Mel and Savon Glitz?
I'm not aware of Savon Glitz in any of them.
Kirby, you do realise we've got to move on to feedback at some point during this episode, don't you? Oh, it's gone quiet. Whoa!
Is Mary done?
I'm done.
Oh God, that means
Brickyard. Hey,
hang on, I'm just putting the cursor over your jingle, Kirby. Yes.
I just posted a link to a video, which I want to know from the people who have the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Is the Doctor Who Cookbook Revisited? Is this 5-minute thing all? Is that the entire thing, which is on the Blu-ray? 5 minutes?
No, they have a cookbook, and then they have the extra one, which they do the Kipper track. And
do you realise my chair has died for this podcast? You know,
it's interesting.
It was that exciting.
Rather like the show itself,
because it just won an award.
What, my chair?
Yeah.
the Doctor Who cookbook, on the Blu-ray, the Doctor Who Cookbook Revisited, it just won an award.
Is Marsh Minnows in the Doctor Who Cookbook, by any chance?
Probably.
Robert Wentz Jr. says, I think Time and the Rani should have been Colin's last story proper. and then regenerate like the case for Davison. I can't blame Colin for saying no to coming on for a regeneration shot, but I think he did regret saying no. I think I seem to remember him saying.
Yeah, recently he's kind of recanted and says because he deprived people of. I'm like, nah, I would have just said, hey, hold on to it.
Right.
Anyways, going.
I think now we can actually move on.
I like Colin a lot.
Nearly, I like Colin a lot. Not just as
Colin's also the only doctor who's been in my car.
He's been in my car too, so there's a claim to fame too.
No need to go on about it.
My
Kirby.
goodness, Colin Baker's been in my car and Kirby's car. Wow.
He hasn't been in my car.
Has he not?
No.
Okay. I found this in a cupboard. It's the Masters laser doodah. Isn't it cool? Right. Anyway. Right. So.
Butcher's been in my house.
Well, hey. Is that a euphemism for something, Debbie?
Okay. Am I hearing anyone say that he's been in bed with me?
No, that's Paul McGann, isn't it?
That's Paul McGann.
Yeah. Well, we got close.
Yes.
You were in the lift.
Did you see the picture of Paul McGann with Debbie? Right then. Right. The feedback. Kirby put on the 20 megabyte Doctor Who podcast Facebook group, which you can join a request for feedback. I think I got all those words out in a coherent sentence.
I used all those words.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. Could you use the words that the feedback people provided us with? That'd be quite good.
Anyway, Jefferson Liang says, you cannot stop the catharsis of spurious morality. Robert Wentz Jr. says, now if we move your hair off to the side, maybe you won't scream as much, with a picture of Colin and Bonnie.
So he's still
also a picture of Sixth Doctor, the Master, and Glitz
in the Master status.
Can I just say, Kirby?
I was trying to say that, but I had this weird echo.
Kirby.
Sorry, I like whispering at me. Sorry.
Oh, Kirby.
Maybe.
I thought Debbie was whispering in my ear.
Maybe Robert should read these instead, since he wants to.
Oh, Kirby.
Anyway,
am I muted or something? Kirby. I'm not allowed to shout. I get into trouble upstairs.
No, he's just ignoring you.
I can see that.
Right.
The picture you posted of...
Sorry, what?
The picture you posted of Colin Baker lying looks like he needs a bit of a bikini line wax thingy done on him, the way the rocks are accumulating around his groin area, shall we say. Just saying.
Oh, what? Anyway. Robert Wentz Jr. says, has the Master quote, you know what real evil is? Wearing these tight leather pants and the zipper breaks when you got to go to the bathroom. And he likes these little jokes.
Oh, they jokes? Sorry, Robert.
Are you sure we're not doing the Deadly Assassin again? You're Colin, not Tom, right? And then I have a picture from the making of Ian Levine saying, when John cast Bonnie Langford, that was the last straw for me. Which I recall he also
said it's the last straw on several occasions during the history of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Wish it would have been.
Why is he still watching? Which Robert Wentz Jr. says, so is he still watching or not watching? It's just complaining.
Yeah, just complaining, yes.
And then I make notes about Open Air with Chibnall. Robert Wentz Jr. finally.
This is slick, Kirby. This is what this podcast is all about.
I skipped my parts.
Good.
Except for Robert Wentz Jr. saying, I remember this. I think he didn't care for Pip and Jane Baker. Speaking of Chib.
And they probably, or I don't know how many of them are still alive, didn't particularly, or wouldn't particularly care for him, to be fair.
Pip and Jane Baker.
I think they're both passed now.
Yes.
I think,
Pip and Jane, yeah.
I think Pip passed either early this year or late last year.
Oh, wow.
I think late last year,
May I continue?
Please do, yes.
Robert Wentz Jr., my review of the Trial of a Time Lord Part 4. Well, the Master makes an appearance. How did he get away from the Ronnie's TARDIS and get back to his own? Creating the house reminded me of the Master's one from Spyfall. So the Time Lords are still using tapes. Where did they mention tapes?
No, when he puts the film can underneath the TARDIS.
Yeah, the Matrix tape.
The Matrix secrets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I thought the Time Lords would be more spectacular with something more forward future. The Master trying to rule is getting old. That's why we don't see him again until Survival. Robert Holmes adds horror element to The Ultimate Foe, and Pip and Jane Baker tried to carry it on. I wish Robert's untimely death. Robert, did you die?
I'm dead.
Not dead yet.
See what the real conception would have been.
Dead yet. I'm not dead.
It just felt like they borrowed. It just felt like they borrowed from The Deadly Assassin. J&T kind of chickened out and undid Perry's death. Undid.
Yeah.
Mel was calmer in this one and totable for once.
What?
That's what it says. I'm just reading.
I can see it.
Totable means, I think, like carryable, something like that. Believable.
Oh, is this English?
Bag.
Is that an English word?
Yeah, novel, isn't it? People using English on an English podcast.
we find out the key of Rassilon can be copied, and everyone seems to have one. So next time we see Valeyard, it's the
I've got one.
I've got two.
May I continue?
Yes.
Oh, just
I keep getting interrupted.
What's wrong with that, Kirby?
Oh, not like you don't.
Yeah. Welcome to my
big
world.
generation coming up.
Yeah.
So next time we see the Valeyard is the vision of the Dream Lord, Namie's choice. I don't think that's necessary. Yeah, I guess it is the Valeyard. Also, did he regenerate like the Master did? Did he take over the Keeper of the Matrix body? Alas, poor Colin Baker, this is the end of the road, with his last words being carrot juice, carrot juice, carrot juice. Well, at least he had success in Big Finish audio. Very average story to end this series. My rating is 2.5 out of 5. My rating for the season is 3 out of 5.
Fair enough.
I'll skip Ian Kirk.
Yes.
Except Ian says the A word in his audio, so he sent
a new one. I did see that. Yes, thank you. Yes. I think he sent that one to me personally. Neil. Neil James.
Where? Oh, I'm not there yet.
Oh, sorry.
Because Robert
Toby Violet's own too. He said.
Well, I'm skipping. I've already referenced the 3D computer model of the Gladstone Pottery Museum, but since you mentioned it, I posted a link to a 3D model of the Gladstone Pottery Museum, which I would not have mentioned except that you happened to bring it up. It's Robert's fault.
Before the chair gives in.
Robert Haynes says, can I use my terabyte modem? I say just don't use a terapin modem. That would be too slow. Neil James. The Ultimate Foe, the end of another era. The first part is chock full of exposition, but it does seem to make sense. The second part is more of a mess and doesn't feel like the spectacular climax it should be to a season-long arc. It's just confusing. Surprisingly, Anthony Ainley seems to know what's going on. That's cool, because I certainly didn't. Good to see Glitz again, but he doesn't work quite as well without Dibber.
Yeah.
The Valeyard goes full-on panto baddie, which is a shame, as this story does have some well-placed moments of horror, the hands coming out of the barrel and the beach. Yeah, the choice of location work is a bit random, but Jeffrey Hughes does a nice job as Papa Wick. I do like the Doctor's rant about how corrupt and villainous the Time Lords are. Perry's fate... But Perry's fate is a massive cop-out, and the season ends with a whimper. Very excited for Sylvester McCoy.
How many stars did he give it?
He doesn't give it any.
He does. He's got 2 stars out of 5.
Where?
Maybe you need to refresh your page.
Yeah, mine doesn't show it.
Mine doesn't show it.
It's, after a whimper, it's got 2 stars out of 5. Very excited for Sylvester McCoy. Huh. Maybe you need to refresh the page or something.
Maybe I need to refresh the page because it's certainly not on mine.
That's happened to me before. Do you remember when I said you read out that he got stars out of 5 somebody, and I said, I can't see that. Where is it?
I could take a screenshot and show you.
Oh, God.
Just refresh the page.
He also says, try saying this when you're here. Nothing There's nothing you can do with the catharsis of spurious morality. Okay. Robert Hayden says, try saying it sober. I just did. Neil James also says, I don't expect you to read these out, but here are my 6 Doctor rankings for anyone who's interested.
Well, we might as well do.
The Mysterious Planet, The Two Doctors, Revelation of the Daleks, The Mark of the Rani, Attack of the Cybermen.
Oh, Kirby.
What?
At the beginning of those things, he's got 3 stars for Mysterious Planet up to Attack of the Cybermen, 2 stars for mine.
Not on mine.
I think you should refresh your page.
No, I think it's just his browser doesn't show certain emojis.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, I am refreshing the page. Let's see. Oh, there's stars.
Oh, God.
Yeah, see?
That's interesting.
No, it isn't.
And let me go back a little bit here. Yeah, I know. See, it's all Robert's
Is it still
fault.
Sunday?
It's all
Monday
Robert's
here.
fault.
Debbie.
Yeah.
Debbie.
Yeah, Neil James gave it 2 stars out of 5.
Cream and sugar, or just sugar?
He gave it 2
2
stars.
sugars, please.
3?
2 sugars, okay.
Oh, 2.
2 stars out of
3?
5.
2, sorry.
Give up caffeine, all sorts of things. I'm going to keep going with a bit of sweetness in my tea.
His 3-star ones are Mysterious Planet, The Two Doctors, Revelation of the Daleks, Mark of the Rani, and Attack of the Cybermen.
Yes.
His 2-star ones are Mind Warp, Time Lash, I know, but it's hilarious, Vengeance on Varos, Terror of the Vervoids, and The Ultimate Foe, and 1 star for Twin Dilemma.
Okay, well, thank you, Kirby, for dictating those particular examples of feedback.
If only I had known that the stars were there.
Yeah. All right, then. Terry Miles says, feedback for Trial of a Time Lord, the last episode, or episodes, I've lost count how many, or Ultimate Foe. Mel, still in it? Last, she didn't scream until I was sick and started to be a real companion. Great to see Glitz again. Shame Dibber couldn't make it. I agree with that. I'm sure I have seen the reception chap when on the Isle of Wight and the other receptionist as well. R.I.P. Geoffrey Hughes. I suppose you would have met him, Adam, seeing as he didn't live too far away. Well, I did sort of not speak to him, like I say. He was in front of me in the queue at Sainsbury's once. Thought I would get that in before Kirby did. Pip and Jane once again. I'm not sure if you can say that, as J&T gave them both the story and they had to write the script around it. At last, the trial is over and we can get back to normal Doctor Who. Wait a minute. This is the last Colin Baker episode. I still hate Michael Grave for the 18 months gap. Now he strikes again and gets rid of Colin because he thought he looks silly in a coat. In the coat, sorry. Wait till the little Scotsman gets out his spoons. That's what she said. That would put a few more nails in the coffin. All in all, Linda and I thought it was a good story. The time and the court scenes were appropriate and didn't slow the story down. Great to see the Master not wanting to kill the Doctor and not being so insanely hell-bent on some stupid scheme which is bound to fail, which in fact it did. Thank you. Thank God Virgin BBC Missing Adventure Stories and Big Finish still carried on with the Colin Baker stories, proving that with a good story he is a very good Doctor. Oh well, I'm off to get the drink. Oh no, Linda, not carrot juice, carrot juice, carrot juice. Next, the return of the lethal trousered one or the Rani. Linda and Terry Miles, thank you. Got this coming through.
Can I just mention something because you mentioned about it?
Oh, yes.
It's funny that Pip and Jane Baker really get 3 stories in a row.
Yeah.
Because they've got Terror of the Vervoids,
Yep.
then they're involved in The Ultimate Foe, and then they do Time and the Rani.
And then nothing else.
Yeah.
We have this. Oh, no, we don't, because I got interrupted by Kirby just in the nick of time. Yes, Kirby? Kirby?
What?
I thought you were going to interrupt me.
What?
I thought you were about to say something. Oh, I beg your pardon then.
Now, I just posted my video of Sylvester playing the spoons at Conquest Cerberus.
Jeez. No, I wasn't going to say anything.
Hello, 20 Megabyte Podcast. This is Ian Kirk.
Hi, Ian.
Hello, Captain.
The previous story was called Terror of the Vervoids. You can get some ointment for that. I was sure someone would have said that last week, so I did not bother. The resolution was to advance the creatures into autumn. Perhaps they should have used an American title pun. fall of the Verboids.
Hey, there.
At the start of the inquiry, the doctor demanded to know where Perry is. He does not ask about Mel Bush. He does not want to know if anyone knows what became of his granddaughter, Susan.
True.
Never asked for a prison visit from Leela.
Very good point.
The Ultimate Foe by Robert Holmes. Suddenly, the inquiry is the trial of a Time Lord. Luckily, they had a jury the whole time. The charge is herbicide, or shrubbery with violence. The Doctor and Mel think he should be let off on charges of wiping out an intelligent species because he saved the Earth. The Gallifreyans do not agree. Then he saves Gallifrey, and they let him off.
Yeah, good point.
The Star Trek holodeck was not available. The part of the Star Trek holodeck is played by The Matrix. The Valeyard reappearing at the end was amusing, but the huge changes to the show after this story mean he was forgotten about. Alexa, who is Bonnie Langford?
According to Wikipedia, Bonita Melody Lysette Langford is an English actress, dancer and singer. She came to prominence as a child star in the 1970s, when she had a notable role in the TV series Just William. In the 1980s, she played companion Mel Bush in Doctor Who.
Bye for now.
Thank you, Ian.
Alexa, who's Bonnie Langford?
This might answer your question.
Alexa, shut up.
Melody Lysette Langford is an English actress.
Nah, it works at my end.
Alexa, stop.
God's sake. Robert Vance Jr. says, looking forward to your McCoy reviews, Ian.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You realize,
Mary,
people think because I like Colin I'm not saying that he does, but that I'm going to be opposed to it. But yeah, or he might not be getting at that at all. But
well, the coat still has another outing, doesn't it, in the next story? So that's a good thing, surely.
Master?
Yeah.
Master?
Yes.
I'm feeling sad because we're beginning the end of the classic era.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling sad. We've got loads of episodes left to go, I'm afraid. Not sad at all.
The moment's been prepared for, Kirby.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stop trying to divulge from the line we're going down, because Mary's got
divulge or diverge.
Diverge, then. I don't care. Do not deviate, as the Dalek said earlier on.
Do not deviate.
Mary, you have some blurb from a certain Alan.
Alan E. Butcher, yeah. Okay, he says, you're off the hook this week.
Yeah, I'm letting you off this week, Debbie, because you're not very well.
Adam is taking care of you.
Yes.
The Doctor versus the Doctor, or the Gallifreyan Eddie Yates cult unmasked. Now, what is the reference to Eddie Yates?
He told you before.
Yes, he played Eddie Yates in Coronation Street in the 1970s.
Okay.
Like one of his first
I never saw that. Okay. Dear 20 Megabyters, The Ultimate Foe is, of course, a closely studied psychological exploration of self-harm and elevating futility to a high art. Obviously, the Valeyard is a vehicle to exact self-harm on the Doctor, which reflects the real-life self-harm on the program by the incongruent producer and script editor. The poorly explained and vacillating motivations of all involved are an exemplary showcase of futility. The Master, whilst apparently in possession somehow of all the facts, nevertheless seems totally confused as to who he wants to harm. It is possible that the program makers were trying to leave the audience in a catatonic state so that they were not in a right mind to complain. It should be noted that whilst some suggest that the difficulties experienced in the Colin Baker era somehow arise from the way the Doctor was played, either the actor or the characterization, they must be out of their minds, as their senior production team were making mistakes left, right, and center, while the on-screen talent were giving it were blah blah blah. Whilst the on-screen talent were all giving it their all. We also learned that the security chief of the Warlords had infiltrated Time Lord Society and become the keeper of the Matrix after successfully spending time also undercover in E-Space as Decider Nephrid on Alzarius. The common lack of intelligence of all these characters proves their commonality. All in all, the ultimate foe is a real mess. The production team had clearly taken leave of their senses going down the route of a trial, but to then leave themselves telling a confused and frankly vague resolution to that tale was a whole different level of foolish. It seems such a waste to get so much talent to expend so much effort on this, but to underserve them completely. All the supporting cast do a fine job, and Michael Jaston is a brilliant villain.
Yes.
Making Glitz an uneasy, untrustworthy agent of the Master works well. The Mr. Popplewicks are a very successful creation. Unfortunately, the particle disseminator has fatally affected the plot long before it appears, and nothing hangs together. One last semblance of sanity came as they pulled back from a planned cliffhanger ending for the season, with the Doctor falling unresolved into an abyss. Oh, yeah, I read about that. The survival of the Valeyard, shown at the end, might have salvaged something out of this with a better planned sequel. This never came in the TV series, but we can always depend on Big Finish to pick a good character idea up and make use of it, and they have made several interesting stories with him. This story is perhaps 2 episodes too short, as this season is over already, which is madness, and it may just have been possible to tell the full story of how the Valeyard came to diverge from the Doctor and how he really hoped to gain from his attempt to destroy his earlier self. Then again, maybe not. Next up, Doctor Who and the Disastrous Start, or I believe the word rhymes with tetrap. Richard.
Yay, well done, Mary.
Yeah. Yes, and well done me for trying to save Debbie's energy so she can come on the show next week.
Yes.
Another few weeks and hopefully she'll be back on properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry Lyle says Kirby is not going. Kirby not going to anything. It's the end of the world.
I was just about to say that's coming.
Doctor Who news.
End of the world.
I don't understand.
Nor do I, but never mind.
It was probably something when we were all bickering earlier.
Yeah. Doctor Who news.
Bickering?
Yeah, what surprise.
The Doctor Who feature, the Doctor Who Cookbook Revisited, has won the 2020 Royal Television Society's West of England Award for Best Production of Features and Factual Entertainment Programme / Content or Series. There's a little video of Janet Fielding and Sarah Sutton engaging in cooking. I'm not going to play it.
Yes,
but
I
if you go
believe
to
that Ian made reference to this a few minutes ago.
Yes, I know, but it is on this page I'm reading.
Yeah, but Adam was trying to quickly shoo me away from it because he probably had it the news and he was going to.
Yeah. That's what I was doing. Yeah. Thanks, Ian.
Yeah. You can pay me later.
Cosmic Mask issued.
Yeah, actually, it's a lovely. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it is lovely to watch.
What, the video?
Yeah. They got together on one of the Skype or whatever to watch the award and had no idea that they were going to win. And they won.
That's not really surprising, really, is it? Doctor Who wins award. Woohoo! That doesn't happen.
Actually, 2 awards.
All right, Doctor Who wins 2 awards. Woohoo! I'm posting the video on the 20 megabyte Doctor Who podcast Facebook group. See, Kirby, other people can do it as well. Right then, so Cosmic Mask issue 11 of Doctor Who Appreciation Society's e-magazine Cosmic Mask is now available to download free of charge at the Society's website. Don't you have to be a member of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society? I don't know. I should be a member of that. Well, in fact, we should all be a member of that if it's free. Just saying. Time Lord Victorious comic book series trailer. So there's another little video that you can watch if you so wish to. I won't share that one on the 20 megabyte page because I've done my job really for sharing stuff on that group. Doctor Who launches in BBC Night.
And I guess I will.
Yeah. And then we'll get back to 19th of August. So there's really not a lot going on unless somebody's heard something.
You forgot to mention about the animations for next year.
No, I mentioned that last week, didn't I?
No, didn't you? Because I think I posted it since then.
Well, mention it then, Robert, because if I haven't already mentioned it, there's nothing in front of me here.
You almost said Kirby.
What?
You almost said my name, Robert.
I said corrobot, that's right. Corroborate, that's the word. Corroborate, Robert.
No, what's this game?
I don't know, we're not talking about that at the moment. We're talking about what Robert was going to mention.
No, I was just going to say that the animations for next year are the Abominable Snowman.
Abominable Snowman, yeah.
And what's the other one?
Don't know.
Evil of the Darks, yes.
But
so
there's quite a lot of Abominable Snowman. Abominable Snowman still available.
And speaking of, and going back to the first news bit, the other award the Doctor Who won at was for animation, and it was for the Macroterra. Sun and Moon Studios.
Yes.
So yeah, they got an animation award for that one. So
excellent,
lovely.
Right, sponsors. Isle of Wight Heroes.
Who.co.uk?
I think it is who1.co.uk.
iwheroes.co.uk. And if you live in the UK, you can actually buy stuff and get them sent to your house from Heroes. And I advise you to type that into your address thingy on your URL and have a look around, because they don't just sell Funko Pops. They sell
What's the URL?
Dungeons and Dragons stuff, Warhammer stuff, lots of like gifts and geeky memorabilia and stuff. So have a look. There's so much there.
What's the website?
And stuff?
And stuff, yeah. What's wrong with stuff?
Lots of stuff.
Who one sells stuff?
Things.
You know,
What's the website?
I've just blooming well said iwheroes.co.uk.
iw.heroes.co.uk.
No, I didn't say
iwheroes.co.uk.
Yeah, not iw.heroes. IW, as in Isle of Wight. Heroes.co.uk. There you go. Also, Christmas is coming, everyone. We're in September, so therefore we can discuss the best possible gift you can get for your Doctor Who fan loved one. A Fourth Doctor's scarf specifically, which you can get, of course, from lavasi.co.uk, along with some more niche items like specialist scarves, like what Debbie's got. You got a specialist scarf, haven't you?
I have, yes.
Yes, and
for a special person.
I'm very pleased to say that both me, Debbie, She Must Be Obeyed, and Izzy Wizzy Woo Woos, I'm not allowed to call her that, by the way, have all met Meninda. Have all met Meninda at one of the Doctor Who events. So yeah, and they also do Star Trek, and they used to do Sherlock stuff actually. I love their Star Trek bobble hats. Now it is going to get cold soon. Their Star Trek scarves and bobble hats are really, really cool. Did I mention I quite like Star Trek?
Here.
What?
It's already cold here.
Yeah, it won't be for much longer though, Robert.
No, true.
Yeah, you'll be needing your buckets of water to throw outside soon.
No, buckets of water to pour over me.
No, to quell those forest fires that come every year.
Yeah.
Right, who1.co.uk also have stuff coming up for Crimbo, 2021 Doctor Who Annual, which I'd like to have a peek at, to be fair. I just want to see what the cartoons are like in it. Flying Dutchman and Displaced, which is a audio, I presume it's an audio book. Fury from the Deep DVD, cartoon version of a story we were talking about a few years ago.
Coming in a week's time, isn't it?
Eh?
In a week's time, it'll be out on the 14th.
Yes, indeed. So these are all pre-orders. And, of course, the Reconnaissance Dalek. I'll tell you what, this just sort of distracted me slightly from something I did yesterday, rather out of the blue. I was summoned by one of my friends at work to do a photo shoot because they bought one of me portrait vouchers a while back. And I was expecting to turn up at this forest to do a family portrait shoot. And suddenly, as I'm driving up there, she bumps me over a message saying, "Don't laugh at us when you get here." And I just said, "Why, are you going to be in costume?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Oh my God." Anyway, I turned up and they're all dressed up in steampunk costumes. These two people,
wow.
her and her friend. I thought, whoa, this is cool. I'm so pleased to be here. So yes, there's a video on TikTok of basically me arriving with them in their lovely costumes. And I didn't even know that she was a costumey person. So I said, "Why didn't you turn up at FantasyCon? That's a perfect place for people in a steampunk outfit." So, and of course, the reconnaissance Dalek is a steampunk Dalek. You can also get Save Our Souls on pre-order, Sixth Doctor and Perry 1. Well, that sounds interesting, doesn't it? That's on pre-order. And Thin Time and Mindquake. All these Big Finish items are available on CD. Yeah. It's not something tangible, isn't it? And of course, there's a 13th Doctor 5.5-inch scale figure coming out with her and a red T-shirt. The one I have, she's exactly the same, but she's got a blue one. But it's quite nice with the red T-shirt, to be fair. All these things available on pre-order, and obviously for your loved one for Crimbo, which is not very far away, as I've said.
Very, very soon.
Yeah, Robots 2.
Another ominous roll of thunder there. Thanks for that. Well, Christmas is coming.
That's my stomach.
Christmas 2020 is a whole different thing.
The current items they're advertising as a Smuggler's CD, Time Apart, which is a Fifth Doctor Big Finish story, and Robots 2. They're all available now. You have a look at their website. There's lots and lots of Target books and other Doctor Who publications available at who1.co.uk, and they do ship internationally.
Yep.
Okay, then.
Rail yard.
God's sake.
Brickyard.
Rail yard.
Yes.
Yard.
I did a little research.
Did you?
And Lavorzy did sell Sherlock scarves in 2017, but they only had 65 of them. Okay. So I'm sure they're completely sold out.
Probably. Thank you for that, Kirby. So next week we'll be talking about the Time and the Rani story, featuring
Lord Inquisitor,
the next Doctor. But before we go, I'd just like to think.
Lord Inquisitor.
Yes.
I just would like to bring up one of my friends on Facebook, Graham Baird. Not that kind of bring up. Dear Lord. It's the 34th anniversary of the first episode of Trial of the Time Lord today.
Is it? Bloody hell.
Wow.
Okay.
What good timing.
God.
I know. It's like we planned it, right?
Yeah.
We did.
I forgot what I was going to say now.
Yeah.
I've got to say something.
You were trying to sign off of the show.
Sorry, that was a really good joke, Kirby.
No. See, I just wanted to say, on the whole, what did we, were our expectations of the Colin, not you obviously, Ian, because we know you love the Sixth Doctor, but what were our expectations of Colin Baker as the Doctor, sort of better or worse than you imagined them to be? We'll start with this, try and keep it brief, Kirby. What do you think?
Are you asking me?
Well, your name's Kirby, I'm pretty sure. Well, hang on, let's just check my notes. Is his name
don't
Kirby?
Start with me. I really
keep it brief, Kirby.
I really enjoy the Sixth Doctor. There's some clunkers. Twin Dilemma.
Like?
Twin Dilemma.
No.
But he's a really good Doctor, and I really need to go and start listening to some of his Big Finishes.
That's a good shout there, Kirby. Good shout. But I will say the question was, were the expectations? So did he exceed your expectations, or did you think he was worse than you remembered him to be?
He was much better than I.
That's what I'm looking for. Thank you. What about you then, Debbie? Is she still there?
Debbie.
She's fallen asleep.
Put her to sleep, Kirby.
Well, she's not very well. Mary, you're back. Sorry.
Hello. What did I miss? Everything is mental on my computer. I've missed the last 2 minutes.
Well, the question was.
It was just Kirby, so.
But the question was.
It's obviously a question. What is it?
Yeah, the question was, does the Sixth Doctor exceed or your expectations from what you were expecting? Yes. That's what expectations are, I suppose. Or were you disappointed?
No, exceeded. Very much so, because I tend to remember a lot more of the Sylvester Mccoy stuff. My memory is mainly bright colours and Candyman and things like that. It's the horrific nature, basically, of what's coming that I remember most. And I don't really remember very much of the Colin Baker era, but as we watched this, I realised that I actually did. And yeah, just he has exceeded my expectations. I just love the nuances he's brought to it. Absolutely.
Robert, what do you think?
Yeah, as I said, I had no problem when he was first broadcast, and I just found some of fans' reactions. I guess what they were expecting more of, more doctory kind of things, and I think maybe they're a bit off-put by the start that he had, and all the bickering that he had with Perry. But so my expectations have always been good for him, but just watching it back just made me appreciate things quite a bit more. And as we mentioned before, like he got the role. I mean, he got the character of the Doctor straight away. You know, he walked into that role, and he's the Doctor. You know, he's the Doctor. There was no sort of doubt. So yeah, he's very, very good, and I'm glad he sort of got, you know, having been doing lawyer type stuff before he was an actor. I was glad that he got the chance to do some of that with the court scenes.
Yes.
Because he's really loved watching him again, and I'm glad that he's still doing Big Finish, and we can enjoy those stories, you know, today. So it's good.
Mary.
Years ago, when I was first tuned in on our PBS station to Doctor Who and saw Colin Baker for the first time, I thought, this is a clown. This guy is nothing but a clown, because he was kind of, you know, acting dopey. He was acting superior for no good reason, because he looked ridiculous. So that kind of turned me off, and I never went back to Doctor Who. But then, you know, there was the rebirth of interest. After seeing some of the new Who stuff, it's like, oh my gosh. Then I wanted to go back and see, you know, some of the old stuff in retrospect. And I still wasn't that impressed with him then. But since then, I have been so influenced by listening to his Big Finish stories that now, going through it in context, as we have been doing, you know, I'm taking my very positive attitude about him to these viewings. So it's not like I'm just, you know, my first impression now is so positive that I see that gentle, intelligent, fun side of him more than I see what irritated me when I very first saw it so many years ago. So I think we're all influenced by that to a degree. And we've just moved out of the Fifth Doctor era, where he was so laid back, so much in the background, Peter Davison was, that having, you know, this loud and kind of aggressive person be the Doctor is a refreshing change from that. So that's my thought about
Mary.
the Sixth Doctor.
Right, then go on in. I know you're itching to sum up the Sixth Doctor.
Yes. Well, no, it is interesting. I mean, it has improved, and even going back through it this time, when we first meet these characters, and you watch, you know, any of the Doctors when you're a certain age, it pays to kind of go back and watch again, and that's what. Hopefully, you at home, when you're listening to this, you've been going back through and rewatching along with us, and you get to see things that you don't see, or you didn't see when you were 10 or 15 or 20 when you last saw it. And
How
I
old
just
were you?
Let's see, I was
at the start, when you first watched.
14, I think, 14, 15 when I first saw Colin. And it'd probably be another year or two before I saw, like, the rest of his stuff. But yeah, it's just I said when I think another show when I was talking about Colin is that I kind of picked him a little bit on a whim, kind of liked the different Doctor, not the quiet meek one, but the more bombastic and, you know, kind of walk into a room, kind of Tom Baker-ish, walk into a room and just own it, you know. You know, it's just everything improves with age, and your the way you view things changes as well. So I always encourage people to go back and look at things again, because things like Time Lash, I think we kind of all agree that, yes, it has its detractors, but there are some wonderful elements in there, and you can find those on a rewatch. And so, yeah, that's the beautiful thing about Doctor Who is there's always more to find. And, yeah, my appreciation for Colin and for his Doctor continue to appreciate with the years, you know. So, yeah, it's every time I find a little bit more to love.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Right, so like I say, next week we move into the 7th Doctor era and welcome Sylvester Mccoy to our series of reviews, i.e. The Journey. And, of course, we've all met Sylvester, I think. And it's going to be nice. Yes. Even though
we've interviewed him.
Yeah, I have. No, you have as well.
No, yes. I've got a picture of him on our podcast.
I think my interview
was a picture of him looking like he's going to strangle me.
I think my interview was the best one, though.
Hard to find that one. Sylvester looking like he's going to strangle me. It's a fantastic picture.
Yeah, he's a great character as an actor.
I thought I posted something in the group and I can't
got
find
to say something about Sylvester. Then, listeners, you see that.
Isla really loved Sylvester because he did that whistling for her at the con.
Yeah,
she still talks about that.
But I've always said, and I always stick by this, that you have to have your favourites and you have to have your least favourites. And although I love the 7th Doctor, he is my least favourite. So it's going to be, for me personally, going through this review of his stuff as to whether that opinion changes, whether I like him more, whether I like him less. And I know his Big Finish Doctor, like Collins, is better than the series Doctor. And I have to say, his performance in the Doctor Who movie, which again will be coming up in a few weeks' time, was sadly his best on the TV. But there you go.
Yeah.
We've got that
sadly
coming up,
his best.
Well, it's sad his last one has to be his best TV performance.
Is my least favorite too, and even Big Finish doesn't really revive him for me.
Okay.
I don't even like his stories on Big Finish.
Mary.
Yeah.
I don't like the. I'm gonna be really, really bad and say you want my least favorite Doctor isn't, even though I haven't really seen much of the first two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like John Pertwee's Doctor.
Oh, okay.
What?
I love John Pertwee. I love Wurzel Gummidge, but I don't like that Doctor.
Everyone's allowed to disagree.
Exactly.
I agree with Ian.
I do love the way Robert went, what? It's just as well you and Robert are quite a long way apart. I have a feeling he was going to thump you then, Ian.
Yeah. Well, that's the wonderful thing about Doctor Who, and the longer it goes on, you realise that it's the perfect show, because that means everybody can have a favourite Doctor or a couple.
Yeah.
You don't just have to choose one now. We've got
a few, haven't we? A few to choose from.
Just go, hey, well,
and an infinite number of previous Doctors we'd never met before he was the Doctor.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Anyway, Laurie Nix says Colin was in the past my least favourite, but over the years I've grown to really appreciate him. And then she says what Mary said. And then now he's pushed past a few others in my little black book of Doctors. So,
Inquisitor. Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found what I had posted. I lost it there for a minute.
That makes a change for you to lose it. There you go. Yeah, carry on.
Time in the Ronnie, even though we haven't done it, 8 years ago I was on the Earth Station Who podcast where I discussed with Mike and Dave a Time in the Ronnie.
Splendid.
And that was the first time I saw it, which was interesting. I'm gonna listen to that again and see if my opinions changed. And yes,
you should post that on the Facebook page.
No, I wouldn't do that.
People listen to that. No, you wouldn't do that. Yeah, people think that bad idea.
I think I was the only person who semi liked it. I'm wondering if I'm gonna like it again.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? Laurie Nick said, Robert, slap Ian in the face with your glove.
Which Ian?
Well, it'll be you, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know. There's a couple.
Yeah, there's too many Ians. It's like this common name.
Anyway, thank you. I'm going to try and end the show, Kirby, if you wouldn't mind.
I did mention 20 Megabyte Doctor Who podcast 8 years ago.
Thank you for that, for pointing that out again. Right, so next week, Time and the Rani. Hope everybody will be well and available for that one. That would be good.
Hopefully, yes.
And thanks for everybody for taking part in the show today. And sorry for everybody who's watching it on my own personal timeline. I'm going to probably continue to do that now. I can actually share it properly to the 20 megabyte page. More viewers. So until next week, thank you for listening, watching, taking part, providing feedback, all the things you do for this show. Bye.
Yeah.
Goodbye, fancy pants.
Yeah, Crow.
The 20 Megabyte Doctor Who podcast is an APV Services production sponsored by whowon.co.uk and lavarsy.co.uk. We are a proud member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance. Doctor Who is a trademark of the BBC. No copyright infringement intended.